Nemessa Allgard was born in eastern Hammerfell in 4E85. Her father was a Breton man, Bendili Allgard, who died when she was less than a year old. Her mother, Kishana, worked hard to try to support herself and her daughter, holding two jobs. One as a farm laborer in the day, one as a barmaid at the inn at night. They lived in a lean-to shack on the edge of the woods near their village. When Nemessa was 9 years old, her mother caught the attention of a wealthy Redguard man named Razada, who owned much farmland near Sunkeep. By her 10th birthday, Razada and Kishana were married, and the family relocated to Sunkeep. Here, Nemessa was raised in some wealth, much more than she had been used to. However, Razada's love did not exactly extend to Nemessa. He despised the child, or at least he made it seem so. And so as she grew up, she spent more and more time out of their home, wandering the streets and making acquaintances amongst the people of Sunkeep. For Nemessa's 17th birthday, Razada suggested that she be sent to tour High Rock and Cyrodiil for a year, and after that to be enrolled in higher learning in the Imperial City, so that one day she could take over the family business, to which her mother agreed. Unfortunately, Nemessa knew all along that this was just a ploy to get rid of her, but the excitement of time abroad made her anxious to leave. So she was sent off on a wagon with a tutor, a guide, and several armed warriors, and they traveled through Hammerfell, up the coast, and then taking a ship voyage from Sentinel to Wayrest, which Nemessa found very exciting. They spent a few weeks there, then moved on to Evermore. While here, the guards received a message from home, which they whispered about, but would not share with her. Their time at Evermore was soon cut short, and the guards hurried them across the border and back into Hammerfell, before turning east and crossing into northern Cyrodiil. There they put up tents and camped in the cold Gerald Mountains for a few days, her tutor trying to encourage her to explore the frosty mountains and discover new sounds and sights all for herself. On the morning of the fourth day camped there, Nemessa woke up with a throbbing head. The sun was too high in the sky, she knew she had slept in some. And the camp? The camp was gone, as were all the people. Nobody and nothing left, except for Nemessa and the tent and bedroll she had slept in. Panic set in. Of course it did. Why wouldn't it? Eventually, she sat down on a log after thrashing through snow and trees in great consternation, and she began to reason things out in her head. Razada, it seemed, had managed to get rid of her at last. It had begun to snow, and the snow soon covered her tracks. She couldn't find her way back to her old campsite. Things were getting desperate. Things were also getting dark as the sun went down. Would she survive? Of course she would, by some sort of dark miracle. During the night, she was descended upon by a pack of roaming vampires. They brought her back to the cave they were staying in, and there they turned her into one of them. Over the years since that night, she has only been outside when the pack found reason to move to a new home location. They did this several times, and the last time they settled far across the border into Skyrim. Always, they have not trusted that she would stay with them of her own free will, and they had her watched closely. But eventually, over many years, all guards will, well, they'll let their guard down. In the meantime, she existed in the darkness of vampire caves and caverns and tombs, brought living wild animals to feed upon. She was treated like a slave, although mainly kindly by the pack. And this was how she always thought of the vampires, as a pack, after her first introduction when they circled her in the night before rushing her as one. Over the years, she has been in the uncomfortable position of sometimes catching the eye of a lonely vampire and having to service his more physical needs. She quickly learned it was better to say no to nothing, and not to put up any fuss, play along as it were. And so, approximately 100 years after she was turned, Nemessa Allgard the vampire is thinking about making a break for it, and trying to go it alone.